Okay guys, so I've been doing some product research lately, and in the next month or so, I'm going to be launching a seasonal product. Wow, oh my goodness. Yeah, I get it. I know, seasonal product. Why am I launching a seasonal product? Well, in this video, I'm going to go over the pros and the cons of launching a seasonal product. If I believe as a beginner, you should be launching a seasonal product, and my realistic expectations or your realistic expectations that you should have if you are going to launch a seasonal product. If you even should launch a seasonal product, we're gonna cover it all in this video. So right now, let's get into it. So the very first question is, what even is a seasonal product and what makes a product seasonal? And specifically, if the product is seasonal, how seasonal is that product really? So the very first thing, seasonal products are products that sell best during a specific season of the year or during a specific time of the year. Like if I was selling, let's say resistance bands, those may sell best during summer. People are trying to get fit. Or if I'm selling, the weight loss supplement, that could be more year round, but it also probably is more seasonal towards, maybe January. Let's say I'm selling a summer blanket for picnicking. That's going to be obviously more spring, summer, fall-ish. Whereas if I'm selling a Christmas product, that is specific to Christmas, the month of December. So there's different variations and different lengths of seasonal products when they get sales. And so the more seasonal a product is, or the more shorter that sales period is, meaning that sales are going to come from a small period of time, whether it's a month, whether it's 2 months, 3 months, 4 months. Right now, let's go over the pros and cons of seasonal products, because there actually is pros and there is cons. It's not just, seasonal products are all bad, There's pros and there's cons. So the very first con, which is arguably a pro or a con, but I consider it kind of a con, is that sales are going to be coming very, very quickly. Now you may be asking, why is that a con? Well, the issue with that is that if you do not prep correctly, if you do not have the right amount of units in stock, and if sales come very quickly, it's very easy to stock out, not be able to get stock back for, a couple of weeks, depending, or maybe even a month or two, and then, that season being over, right when you stock back in. And so ultimately you are limiting your sales potential if you do not have good inventory management. And that is what is going to be key for seasonal products. If you don't plan ahead correctly, if you don't have the right amount of units in stock during that specific season, then it could be very easy to stock out. But then at the very same time, you could also order too many units, think you're going to sell very well, and then you don't start selling as well. And ultimately you're just stuck with a bunch of stock that you have to sell for next year and just kind of sit and just, rack up storage fees and inventory fees and the same thing. But essentially you're wasting more money and you have a bunch of units that may not be able to sell. And that brings us to the second con, which is it can be kind of hard to predict the sales velocity you're going to have for any given year. Now, you know that certain products will sell well, but if you are launching a new variation or a new trend, or for a season that hasn't been, having a product for that specific season launched yet, then it can be kind of hard to understand whether or not this is a good design or a good product in general. So if you're launching a new product, it can be hard to predict the sales. Now, you could launch a new product and think it's going to do okay, and then it actually sells very well, then you stock out. Or you can launch a new product, don't do enough testing, don't do enough split testing, don't get enough, outside feedbacks or audience market feedback, and launch a product that you think is going to do well, order a bunch of units, and then doesn't actually sell well, and then now you're kind of stuck. So it's kind of a catch-22. Either way you look at it, it could be a pro or it could be a con if you order too much or too little. And, very rarely can you get right in the sweet spot, but essentially it can be hard to predict the sales velocity for seasonal products. But at the same time, it's also going to be dependent on what season it is. If you're selling a summer product versus selling an Easter product, and that's going to be a super seasonal Easter product versus a less semi-seasonal, slightly more of a sales period summer product. And so for the summer product, you can get away with more than you would be able to get away with for an Easter product. If you don't plan that Easter product correctly, then you're kind of just screwed for the next year. And if basically you just order too many units or too little units, and once again, it's very hard to adjust in a small period of time than for a summer product. If you order too many units, once again, you have the whole entire summer and even slightly some fall to sell out of those products. But if you order too few units, you can easily restock and get back in stock before the summer/fall season actually ends. Now, this brings us to the third con, which is, once again, after you stock out or after the season's over, you have to basically wait till the next year happens for that season to be actually in. And once again, for more holiday themed products versus more seasons, the season products are going to be selling, still small amounts of units year round, whereas the holiday products most likely are going to be selling very few, if any at all, for that specific holiday product. So it's, seasonal product versus direct holiday products, and the direct holiday products are going to be less sales more year round, whereas the seasonal products are going to be still some sales in off seasons of that product. Pro number one, you have a lot of time to plan for that specific season. Let's say you pick a season that's like 6 or 7 or even 4 months ahead. You have a decent amount of time to order product samples, to get the right product testing, to develop a launch strategy, target micro influencers, and have a specific launch strategy that can really skyrocket your sales for that season. And so this allows you to have an optimal launch for that product. Now, the second pro is that you don't have to do inventory management year round. You basically just have to plan for a big season or a big holiday for that seasonal product. And then so majority of the rest of the year, you're not really ordering units, or you're just keeping it very, very slowly moving just to stay in stock. And so with this being said, the inventory management is low, but once again, it can be tricky when you're testing out a new product to know the exact amount of inventory you're gonna need to have for that specific season. Pro number 3, typically Amazon sellers tend to stay away from seasonal products. You usually hear all the time, don't do seasonal product, don't do big brands, don't do X, Y, and Z. And seasonal products are usually somewhere in that list. And so, a lot of sellers tend to stay away from seasonal products, which could create an opportunity for those who do want to have a seasonal product. But as a beginner, should you really launch a seasonal product? Well, in my honest opinion, I would say no for the following reasons. Using software such as Helium 10, you can easily find products that are more year-round, that are going to create a more steady and predictable revenue and profit margins and profit in general for your business than a seasonal product will. And let's say that you're launching your very first product. It's probably not going to be the most optimal launch, probably not going to have the best listing, maybe not the best product pictures, X, Y, and Z. You have to learn. There's a learning curve involved with this FBA business model. And so if you're launching a seasonal product and you're just testing out, your very first listing, it's most likely not going to be completely optimized, which will lead you to not having the highest conversion rates and ultimately not doing the best for that season, which once again, if you just launch a year-round product, you can optimize and adjust your listing over time and ultimately pick up more and more sales. Whereas for a season, if you miss that season and there's sellers who are doing better than you already, then it's going to be very hard for you to rebound, because once again, there's not going to be very much sales for the rest of the year because the season's already been missed. The second reason why I may not recommend beginners to launch a seasonal product is because once again, it's very hard to predict the sales velocity. And as a beginner, you're not going to be ordering tons and tons of units. So if you do pick the right product and it is a good product for that season or for that holiday, it can be very hard for a beginner to stay in stock because once again, they have a small budget. They're ordering the first couple units to test out the product for a year-round product. And for a seasonal product, if you order a couple, units, then it's going to be very easy to stock out even a couple hundred units. If the product is good quality and has high demand, it's going to be very easy to stock out as a beginner with only a few hundred units. And so once again, by the time you get back in stock, you may have already missed the end of that season. And so you have to wait till next year. Once again, a year-round product for beginners is going to be a much more steady flow of income, revenue, profit, and ultimately it's going to be allowing you to have the trial and error to fail forward, optimize your listing, and allow it to, pick up steam as, the days and the months go on, ultimately allowing you to get more confident and get more sales as the year continues. And if you're doing product research with Helium 10, there's going to be tons and tons of product opportunities that you can do as opposed to seasonal products. So as a beginner, I really wouldn't recommend doing a seasonal product. I recommend it for the intermediate/advanced sellers. And for me specifically, I'm doing the seasonal product as a test because I have never launched a seasonal product. And I want to specifically launch this product just so I can give you guys valuable information later on in the future and show you guys exactly how it does, if this was actually a success or a fail. Now, I do expect to sell units with this seasonal product, and once again, I will cover all this in a future video. But for now, if you're interested in a specific product research playlist on how to find the very first product, then click on this playlist right here where I go on exactly what you should do as a beginner looking for your very first product for a year-round product to launch on Amazon.